This is the Comic Book Kaiju podcast, a comic book discussion podcast where we love comics and you should too. I am your host, Trent Justin Vactor, and with me today is an extra special guest. I consider him to be an X-Men expert. With me on the show, King Krakoa, the best, putting out the best X-Men content on the internet right now. King Krakoa, Twitter, TikTok. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. First of all, you flatter me, sir. That was the greatest introduction ever. First of all, yeah, I like to call myself a bit of an X-Men aficionado.
Yeah, and that's actually the way that I was first introduced to you. Like that's what stood out to me is that you were like just focusing on X-Men because there's a lot of people that I look at and they're like, "All right, I like every comic that was ever made in the history of comics." But you're like, "No,
Right.
I'm sticking with the X gene, the mutants." And so it kind of sparked my attention. I'm like, "Oh, let me take a look here." So keep doing what you're doing because you're doing it well.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. And like I do, like you said, like there's a lot of people who kind of vary on different things, and I do as well. But sometimes, but mostly to the heart of it will always be mutants all day, almost
Oh,
period.
yes, yes. And I love that you always introduce every TikTok with my beautiful homo superiors. That always makes me smile every time you do it. So definitely you are on to something there. But before we get into our X talk, I did want to say that I have been trying out a special little drink called Magic Mind. It's kind of a productivity energy hack that I've been trying for a few weeks now, and I've been enjoying it. It's been giving me some boost and some pep in my step.
Okay.
Um, King Krakoa, is there anything specific that you do to kind of give you extra energy or when you need a little productivity boost?
Ooh, so for me, I'm a really avid music listener. So I love music to get me energized.
Nice.
Sometimes, if I want to do like something to like keep me active, I'll do like yoga, which by looking at me, you wouldn't think that, but yoga is my jam. I actually love doing that actually as well.
Okay, cool. I also enjoy yoga. You also will not see it on my body, but as as well as yoga, I've also been doing, like I said, this Magic Mind, and they're doing a campaign right now called 14 Days of Magic. If you create any type of content and you put hashtag 14 Days of Magic, and you purchase it and use my link, which I'm going to put down below, discount code Kaiju14. That's KAIJU14. Use that link, magicmind.co/slash 14 days of magic. You'll be entered into a contest that Magic Mind is doing right now where I will be selecting the winner. You're going to be getting a 1 to 3 month subscription to Magic Mind. And I want to let everybody know this is a very good thing. This is, I think, something that King Krakoa would approve. Every 10,000 views for that hashtag, every time they get 10,000 views, Magic Mind is going to donate $10 with the goal of reaching $30,000 in donations to help the Amazon rainforest. It's almost like a Krakoa in our own world, the
Right.
rainforest. So definitely check out what they're doing over at Magic Mind. Some great folks over there, some great things.
Okay.
And like I said, I'll have a link in my show notes. All right. Now let's get into it. Let's get it talking. King Krakoa,
Yes,
sir,
sir.
you know, I don't think I told you this. You're one of my favorite TikTokers. Like when I'm scrolling through the
Really?
feed, you're one of the ones that if you don't come up, I search for you. Like that's a special thing because
Oh
I don't have a
man.
lot of time. So yeah,
Right.
you're
That honors me. That means a lot because, like I say on my TikTok, it doesn't like I may not have a lot of people follow me now, but even the most people who just come and say like they love my content, that's the main reason I love doing it. I just love that the content I love that I put out, people are resonating with it. That's the best connection I love.
yes, excellent. So I wanted to ask you specifically, what is your comic book origin story? Is there anything that you can think back to that sparked your interest in comics? Like what got you what bug bit you and said, "All right, I'm gonna be a comics fan."
Ooh, okay, so I can. Oh, of course. Okay, I just every time someone asks me this, I just like instantly just I remember. So picture Sicily. I'm just kidding. um, So in when I was a kid, I was going to the flea market with my mom, and we passed this little comic stand, and the first thing that popped out of me was the Teen Titans by Jeff Johns run.
Ooh.
And I know King Krakoa, you wouldn't think that that was my first comic that I would read, but it ended up like I picked it up and I instantly fell in love with it. I think I got into it like the first 10 issues or so, but instantly I started falling in love with those, and I used to go there every weekend and get those comics, and that's how I initially just started loving it.
Nice, very nice, and that's always one that I think resonates with a lot of us. You're at either the store or you're at someplace and you see a comic and it's like, oh, this
Right,
is the holy grail. I what is going on in this book? And for
right,
me, it was the same way. Like I saw, I want to say it was like Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Superman was holding Supergirl,
yeah.
dead Supergirl in his hands, and he's crying. And I was like, as a kid, that blew my mind. I was like, what could make Superman cry? I gotta read this
Right,
book. So
vulnerability. No, I must know. Yeah, I definitely feel that.
so that was definitely I can relate to that type of story. Now, what about the X-Men specifically kind of attracted you and made you say, "All right, I'm a dedicate myself to these mutants."
So the X Men, how I got into them was my I had my little brother's older brother. He actually had like a bunch of old like comic books, and like he was just getting rid of them. And he said, "My mom wants me to get rid of these." So it was literally a bunch of boxes, and the first thing that I saw was X Men, and I was like, "Of course!" Like
Ah,
I've always been an X Men head since like the cartoon of the '90s in the
mm,
'90s to X Men
yeah.
Evolution, like. So I was like, okay, I'm going to instantly get it. And the first one I ever read was New X Men by Grant Morrison, which
Ooh,
to this day will always be like the cement and the foundation for my X Men knowledge and like
yes.
how I go about everything now.
Mm, that's
It's
fantastic.
so amazing. It was so
Yeah,
amazing.
that's crazy. I love Grant Morrison and like the stuff that he's been able to do on Batman, on X-Men, like just kind
Right.
of crazy. Even Superman, All Star Superman. So yeah, Grant Morrison, the ripples have gone out through the comics
Yeah.
pond. So that's
He's not
cool.
one of those artists that you can just do one. They can, like Grant Morrison, they can do different genres and still make it a hit. Even the Flash,
Oh
like you
yeah,
said, he does a lot of different genres, and he can make them. He will cement himself into those books. That's what I
yeah,
love
that's
about him.
fantastic. Yeah. So on that note, as we are dipping our toes in the X waters, um, a specific thing that I wanted to bring you on for was Marvel was releasing their current crossover was the big summer thing was Axe Avengers X-Men Eternals, and we
Yeah.
just finished it. We just got the last one. I saw your TikTok. I saw the ship that you did with Cap
Oh,
and Jada,
God.
um, and your joy, just enthusiasm. It came out and it made me get
Yeah.
hyped for it. So what did you think about Axe overall?
Okay, so man, when I tell you I was so excited about this because I was like, oh, this is gonna be a book. Like, but I was excited. Like the first part, I was nervous because I was like, I feel like this might be one of those things where it doesn't have the stakes, but instantly once you go into it, it has the stakes of every team is getting some kind of like stake added onto them, and through it, I loved it. In the end, which you're and the shipping that he is talking about and referring to is Steve Rogers and Jada. Jada is this young black woman on this through this book who she's one of the six human characters that we get to see from the point of view of, and through their interactions, you just see them talking. It just makes sense, people. It just she Jada and Steve forever, and that's that.
Yeah, that was something that like when I was reading it, it didn't necessarily spark me, but when I saw you put it, I was like, oh, that kind of it kind of it it rang true for me. I was like, yes, that is something that I'd like to see in the future. That is something that um, would be cool going forward. So I wonder if they're going to pick up that thread or they're going to leave that
Yeah, right.
hanging. So
I hope
definitely,
they don't, because that's a great storyline that they can delve into, especially with Steve Rogers, like
oh yeah, yeah.
Captain America. Yeah,
Now, I was not like a big Eternals guy going into it, and we had the Eternals movie. Was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't even know
yeah,
anymore. Um,
right.
that was kind of my exposure. I read
Uh-huh.
the Neil Gaiman Eternals going into it, going into the movie, just to kind of prepare for it.
Right.
But this new series that they've been doing, I kind of fell behind on it, so I need to get caught up on it.
Oh,
Um, what do you think about how the Eternals kind of played that Eternals deviants role in
right.
Acts?
I love the dynamic. So first, I was like you, into the aspect of I was going. I read the Eternals because of the movie, because I was
Hmm.
like, I want to know a little bit more of the Eternals before I like just go into this movie. So I read the Neil Gaiman run, and instantly, of course, it's Neil Gaiman, so of course it's gonna be great. But it was amazing, and then I read. Of course, I found out like months before the Eternals were coming back out, were coming with this, and I was like, okay, I'll read the new one and see what's going on. And these books are, what is his name? Kieran Gillen. He is
Yes.
doing his absolute thing on these books. Like they're smart, they're intelligent, and it's not like, and they go about things that could could be offensive, but they do it in a way that it's smart, and it's just they it's a masterpiece. It's the words that I have for it. Like, I didn't expect me to love Internals like that, but I was like, okay, this is actually a very good book, and I'm a very much a dialogue driven
Hmm.
kind of guy. So like that, in like with the X Men, of course, like,
Yeah.
but that's why, like, I love a lot of dialogue and explanations, and they have a great book that kind of gets on adventure, their religion, and kind of explains their storylines in such a way that is
Yeah,
amazing.
and that's me too. Like I love kind of the immersiveness when you can kind of get into that the dialogue kind of sucks you in and you're like, "Yes, I'm here
Yeah.
for it. I'm here for the story. I'm here for everything that's going on." So with the acts, like you said, Kieran Gillen, not only the main story, but he was writing like some tie-in stuff and I saw something came out
Yeah.
actually today. There was a kind of a follow-up book that came out. I haven't had a chance to read it. I just got off work, came straight here. I said I got to record with King Krakoa, but I'm gonna check that out. But yeah, I'm the same way. Kieran Gillen, the
Mhm.
stuff that he was, I think he was writing that Eternals book. I don't know if he's still on it.
Mhm. Yeah,
But yeah,
he was writing that one along with the Immortal X Men and this whole little series.
yeah. So his stuff I've been a fan of. He was doing some I think he was doing Darth Vader, some Star Wars books too. Everything I've read by him has been fantastic. So he's one that I look for when I see his name. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna
Yeah.
read it. I'm gonna like it. Doesn't matter what the story is or what the characters are. If it's Kieran Gillen, I'm probably gonna like it. So yeah, I think overall I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite necessarily, especially coming off we're in this Krakoan era right now, and those the X-Men books that kind of kicked that off, where there was resurrection, that whole
Right.
storyline, that's what like it renewed my X-Men love. Like I'm like you. I had
Yeah.
the '90s cartoon. That was one of my favorite shows. X Men Evolution. Then we had the movies, the Fox movies, and
Right.
they had kind of a high, and then they started going down a little bit. But I think just overall, the idea of mutants is one that's it's uniquely Marvel. I don't know of any like DC counterparts necessarily to mutants, and to that idea of just kind of all right, these are just certain people
Right.
have powers in this world, and it's also that kind of that power, or like kind of like wish fulfillment almost, where it's like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, this guy's super fast, this guy can fly, this guy, you have that element to it. So for me, mutants, it's always been like, oh man, what cool powers are there? And then the family dynamic and then kind of the
Yes,
interplay between all the characters. So I I came off that high of, and I'm blanking on the name of the book. It was Powers of House of X, Powers of X, was
yes.
kind of the one that was like that grabbed me, and I was like, "This is amazing! I got to go up to the highest mountaintop and shout, tell everybody." Um,
Yes, the way they, even the way they advertised it, I was like, okay, this is gonna be something. This is gonna be something that's gonna change the
ooh,
X Men's run for like a long time to come, and especially just coming off of them owning the rights for Fox, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna, they're gonna make this theirs, and they're gonna stamp this on, like, this is gonna be a moment in history where like everybody's watching, and it's that no, it's that line that Emma Frost says in Hellfire Gala, you'll remember where you were the day this happened, or the day you where the Hellfire Gala happened. This is that kind of moment.
nice, yeah. That like it kind of gives me chills, but also like so I kind of got snapped away from comics a little bit. Thanos did a snap, and I kind of disappeared. But when I came back, I was like, "Oh shoot, I'm behind on all these books." And X-Men was one that I was like, "How can I get back into it? How can I kind of find my way?"
Right.
And so that Powers House of X, Powers of X, that for me was like a lifeline. I was like, "Oh, I can grab onto this. I can understand what's going on in the
Yes.
current X-Men universe." But it's like there's a ton of books coming out for X-Men. So it's like trying to keep up with all the nooks and crannies. That's
Right.
where I need King Krakoa to come in and tell me what the best stuff is.
That's where I'm at. And that's exactly where I'm at with TikTok. Like when someone needs to know where I'm at, they simply just ask that question in my comment. I will instantly tell you, like, okay, so this is what you want to know if you need to know about this. Or this is what you need to know if you want. Oh, you want to know about this storyline? Okay, so you're going to want to go back to like New Mutants to get this.
That's
And
perfect.
that's what I do like about the Age of X. Well, this new Age of Krakoa. They're taking they're fixing storylines that were also kind of damaged,
Mm,
and they're bringing it up, and like they're bringing it back to this, like, to the forefront and being like, okay, well, this is what happens, and like, but we're like fixing that problem. Like
mm.
Betsy and Quanon are the main prime examples of that, and they've made their stories even better.
Nice. Yeah, man. That's just like it gets me excited. And there's so many different avenues at Marvel. I'm like, oh shoot, I gotta.
Mm-hmm.
There's Spider-Man's over here, Captain America's over here, Black Panther. Like, I
Oh,
want to catch up on everything, and then X-Men on top of that. It's like, all right, we got X-Force, we got X-Men, we got like, there's so many teams of the X
right.
universe.
They
But
really
yeah,
have us on chokehold, don't
I love I love this
they?
current Krakoa era that we're in. It's like
Yeah.
it's just an exciting time to be an X-Men fan. So I want to ask you, as the X-Men expert, um,
Like,
what are the best X books right now that someone can read? What are your favorites?
ooh, my favorites. Good question. So my favorites going in automatically are going to be classic title X Men. That the one that the current run with the Krakoan elected teams. That one has been a really good book for me. Marauders going in
Ooh.
initially was a great book. I love the story of Kitty Pryde and her whole resurrection conflict. But another book that has also surprised me that I didn't think I was going to love as much was The New Mutants. And
Oh.
The New Mutants has been a very much the book that I didn't know that I needed.
Ooh.
It grasps on different mutants from the new mutants from different generations. So it's not just the new mutants, but it's also Generation X and the children from Wolverine school. Like they're
Ooh.
everybody interacting with each other. So they have a lot of books and Hellions, which nobody talks about, but it had a special place in my heart.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm gonna put those on my pull list because like I've
Please.
been trying to follow and I needed a guide. So King Krakoa is here to
Mm-hmm.
guide me. So that is
Yeah.
fantastic. Is there anything that you're anticipating as far as like TV or movies in the X-Men universe? Because they haven't brought them into
Mhm.
the MCU proper yet. So
Right.
is there anything that you're looking forward to or that you want to see? I got kind of upset when they teased Quicksilver on WandaVision, and then it just turned out to be Ralph
Yeah,
Boner, uh, just
that
some
was
guy.
that was such that was an fu to all of us, I think, and I instantly just paused the screen when I saw that, and I just like walked away for a minute. And I was like, "Why would you do that to me? Like you knew I needed this, and you just threw it away in my faces. Like we were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you." But yeah, for the X-Men, I kind of am hoping for a lot, especially since they're gonna put them in this universe. So I'm kind of eager to see how they want to do it. I'm kind of hoping they kind of bring or incorporate a little bit of Krakoa into it, because it
Ooh.
would be a little bit more easier to do so.
Mm.
Because look, I already have a storyline ready for them if they ever just need to call me and need some ideas to bounce off. Like, yeah,
Call him up, Marvel. King Krakoa on TikTok
right,
and Twitter. Message him, let
right.
him know. Because I would love to hear that or read that and see that as well. So yeah,
Right.
that's fantastic. I think that's really the everything that I wanted to kind of get out of our conversation. Anything else that you like in current X Men that you're loving or that you're digging or you want to recommend to somebody? Anything else?
In the current X-Men, I think that's about it. Well, I mean, honestly, you can jump into any of these books and it'll be great. Legions of X is a good book as well. Like it kind of dives into Professor X's kind of shortcomings.
Ooh.
And for those who don't know me, I am Professor Xavier is still, I'm shamefully one of my favorite X Men characters of all time. And I know my guy has been flawed as of late, but you know, he's a good man just trying to do the right thing, doing it the wrong way sometimes. But it kind of just dives into like his relationship with Legion, his son, and his relationship with Juggernaut as well.
Ooh.
And I just kind of right, it's a different dynamic. Like you don't see this like book basically like just calling out Professor Xavier's flaws. Like there's one issue where they literally call out him being having a savior complex, and I'm like, this is the book.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I was like, this is, and of course it stars, you know, Nightcrawler and like him going over like, and it's basically him going over the council's head and saying like everybody doesn't deserve to go into the pit, and this is why. Like every circumstance is different, so you have to take that time to actually go about it. And he's taking the time to actually make the laws in a way that is thoughtful to everybody and it makes sense, and not just, oh, you did this, instantly you're going into the pit. Like, you
Oh
know,
man. Yeah. Dang, that's great, man.
right,
This talk has got me excited. I want to go read X-Men right now, which is exactly why I wanted to have you
right.
on here. So thank you very
Oh,
much for joining us. King Krakoa, you have been fantastic. And like I said, you're one of my favorite TikTokers. I love seeing your content
appreciate that,
pop
man.
up every time. So I'm glad that you are in our world. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. It's been a pleasure. And anytime you need to talk about X Men, you just let me know.
Oh, yes, I can't wait. All right. Well, I want to let everybody know out there that King Krakoa loves comics, and you should too.